Let's start. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Krathitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitaamritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvāmanusandadhāmi Bhagavad Gita Bhavatveshinim Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvanti Divyaistavaihi Vedai Sangapadakramopanishadai Gayantiyam samagaha Dhyanavastita tatkatena manasa Pashyantiyam yoginaha Yasyantam navidussura suragana Devaya tasmai namaha Devaya tasmai namaha. Sorry, the speaker system is not working today. Just to, for those of you that came late. So, let us chant verses number 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. So 5 verses starting with verse number 8 of the 4th chapter. You can just follow after me. Let me turn this thing on. Paritranaya sadhunam Vinashaya cha dushkritam Dharma samsthapanarthaya Sambhavami yuge yuge Janma karma cha me divyam Evam yo veti tattvataha Tyaktva deham punarjanma Naiti mameti sorjuna Vitarag bhayakrodhaha Manmaya mamupashritaha Bahavo jnanatapasa Puta madbhavamagataha Ye yatha mam prapadyante Tams tathaiva bhajamyaham Mama vartmanuvartante Manushya partha sarvashaha Kankshantah karmanam siddhim kamshantah karmanam siddhim yajanta iha devataah kshipram hi manushe loke siddhir bhavati karmaja. Okay. So in verses number 1 through 8, two topics were talked about. One was the the importance, not the advantage, but the importance of sampradaya. Importance of sampradaya, meaning that that it is important for you to know that the teaching for anything that you're learning, it has deep roots, has been going on for a while. And if there are some new things that are only relevant to today, then you don't need to find a lot of roots. Like computer technology and so on, you can't say, where is the ancient wisdom for this? No, this is something new. But for the parts of our life which are fundamental to all human beings, the very nature of life, the nature of the goals of life, etc., there is nothing new. This is very fundamental. Anything which is very fundamental cannot be new. It's been going on. You can't even say it's 10,000 years old. This is why it's Sanatana Dharma. You know, this Sanatana Dharma is interesting. I was brought up in the family in Punjab where Arya Samaj was the prevalent thinking. But the Arya Samaj also started like a couple of hundred years ago. And it's the old Swami Dayanand Saraswati, not our guru, but the first one. And he did some wonderful things. There's some reformation in the society and so on. But this has become a religion of its own. And I tell you, I am very fortunate. I was brought up in an Arya Samaj family. So my parent, my grandfather, with my grandfather. My father was not a big believer in Ishvara or anything. He was not really, he was a complete skeptic. But my mom she was a very religious person. And she was brought up in an Arya Samaj family. And I was brought up in the Arya Samaj family. What do I know? And so we used to do a lot of the Vedic rituals and so on and so forth. And it wasn't, I'm so happy, if I had stayed on in India, probably I would have stayed with Arya Samaj. The Arya Samaj is a new religion, just started a couple of hundred years ago. It doesn't have the sampradaya. I'm very fortunate that I got out of there and came to the US. In many cases, I find, really, I always think about this. I came to the US to discover my own roots. And would not have been possible if I was not if I was a part of the Arya Samaj. Because, you know, you have social gatherings and then you get married to another Arya Samaji and then you just follow the teaching, whatever you're brought up with and so on and so forth. It would not have been possible for me to do some independent analysis. But when I came here, there was nothing. So I had to start from, I remember I would go to some bookshops and start reading Bhagavad Gita. And I was reading, you know, some here and there and so on and so forth, some Western authors. Nothing made much sense, but at least I started. Ishvara finally gave me a connection to the sampradaya of Advaita Vedanta. And then it became, now I'm knowledgeable about Arya Samaj. But really what I was saying was that this is called Sanatana Dharma. Sanatana Dharma means endless teaching. The Sampradaya, you cannot say it was started by, people say it, that Shankara started this. No, Shankara did not start it. All he did was to write some commentary on it. That's it. Vyasa started it. No, Vyasa did not start. There is no authorship anywhere. This comes from Ishvara. So this is why a portion of the Gita was taken out to just point out by the teacher himself, who is nothing but Ishvara. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, very next one. Imam vivasvate yogam proktavan aham avyayam vivaswan manave praha manurikshvakave bravid. He says, I started this with Brahmaji and then from Surya. Started this also means nothing has started, was already there when a new person came up deserving of becoming Surya and Brahma. These are big posts. These are huge posts. Like the presidential election in the US will give you 4 years. These are big posts, but it will give you 4 years. Surya and Brahmaji will rule the world for 100 million years. There also it will stop. It's actually just nothing. It's a very small port. 100 million will just go very quickly. Do you know, by the way, we are at the midpoint of that. We are at the 50 million stage. We are right there. We are at about 50 million of this whole kalpa. Half of it is gone, the other half is going to come. Anyway, so the first section of this chapter is simply to remind people of the importance of sampradaya. Swami Dayanand used to say that. Swamiji said, you know, if you look at the highly accomplished musicians, then it is not just taking taking a violin. This is what happens. You take a book on how to play the violin or some flute or something like this. You can make some sounds, but that's not really profound. In order to gain profundity, you have to be the student of a great musical artist who is willing to teach it to you. Because that person might say, I don't have the time to teach. I can just play. But this is what happens. You find these musicians, they all come from a certain gharana. They have a gharana. Gharana means sampradaya. So you have a Banaras gharana, Jaipur gharana. So their music, like I really enjoy the music of these two brothers, Rajan and Sajan Mishra. Their way of really playing music in terms of the meditative really appeals to me. So they come from a certain gharana, which is Banaras gharana. And the way of doing this has been here, and not a question of antiquity. It's probably 300-400 years ago. I don't know when. But at least it has some depth to it. Anyway, all I'm saying is that Krishna found it important to point out the importance of sampradaya. And the sampradaya in the Vedantic teaching also means, as we were discussing in the previous class, prakriya. How do you communicate? What methodology do you use? And how do you live your own life that people can also look up to you? And all those kinds of things. It's all mixed up in that. So this is the sampradaya. So this was number one. Then the second topic Krishna talked about was the avatara. The importance of avatara. What is not only the importance, but what is the meaning of it? How is that different from any other person? Avatara. So we went through all of that. I won't repeat it, so on and so forth. And it ended with verse number 8, saying that it's exactly like sometimes the avatars are self-correcting within your own system. Like, for example, if you were to get injured, then there are self-correcting mechanisms within the body that will help overcome the problem. If it cannot be done, then you need have an external aid that comes in. Some doctor, some surgery, some injections, all kinds of things have to be given. So normally the body works very well by itself, but if there is a problem, then either an internal thing comes up, like for example, I was mentioning that if you get a cut, then all of a sudden there are internal mechanisms which will say, oh, there's a cut. It is really interesting how this internal system knows there is a cut. It should not be cut. A skin should not be cut. It knows it. And if it is a cut, how it knows it is just an amazing thing. That signal is given into the brain, and the brain says, okay, we know what to do. Okay, let's start to coagulate the blood, because we wanted to lose all the blood. So the blood starts to coagulate. Then the pain, the minister of pain also says, yep, this is a problem. This is a problem. We need to take care of it. So either you put some bandage over it or some medicines or something, but the pain is very important. In fact, the pain in the body is a very important friend. Without pain, this is what happens. One of my close relatives, he has a very advanced colon cancer. And it happens in many of the cancer cases that the pain is not there. There's no symptoms. What are you going to do? And he's just going through, I think hopefully he'll recover. But he just went through a huge problem. It's like a 4th stage colon cancer. So if you have any pain, you should immediately thank it. Because there is a devata for pain who is sitting there inside your body. It's kind of like an avatara. So similarly, Krishna says, listen, this whole world I'm responsible for. And don't think I will abandon it. I know when I need to provide, I come there. And either through internally the body, like for example, you find that if there are some excesses of either religious or political or something, then other bodies come up to try to take them out, like this ISIS. It's kind of strange people. And the people are not strange, it is the ideology. The ideology says the means doesn't have to be consistent with the end. You will go to heaven, but if you kill people, it's okay. Strange. But then other people who say this is a very strange way of looking at it, this is not right. So this is an internal avatara. Or some outside person will have to come, and if this keeps on going, and take care of it. So anyway, the second portion here was avatara. Now, having taken care of these two topics, what are the two topics? One is a praise of sampradaya, and the second one is an understanding of avatara. The main topic now is, it's kind of like we took a detour for a little while, and now we're back on the main highway. What is the main highway? The main highway is Arjuna saying, I need your help because I thought my life was working well, I was a soldier by training, a leader by my disposition, and a follower of proper ethics, ethical person. There, I followed everything, but now I find I'm confused because there is this should be seen, he's not shying away from war because of a lack of fortitude. It's not as though he's not brave enough. That's not it. But he is confused whether he should even fight or not, because there are some confusing indications given to him. His own family, his own teachers are on the other side. And he says, I'm not sure whether I'm doing the right thing. As a result of that, he just has a mental breakdown. He says, I don't think that's correct. So this is the main topic. So as I've mentioned before, the character of Arjuna has been very carefully chosen by Vyasa, because the character is not one who is not dharmic, who is not ethical. Because if you are not ethical, then be ethical. It's very simple. Change what you're doing. But if you are doing everything the way it should be done and yet you are not happy, that is a more serious problem. The more serious problem is that you think that if you're going to do everything correctly and you're following things and so on and so forth, then results should come, and this was given to you. It's not coming. You're doing everything the correct way, but you're still not happy with yourself. Then the serious inquiry starts. Why? That is the main topic. So Krishna then, as you know, points out that there is a viveka, there is a discriminative thinking that has to be done at two levels. That leads to the final sense of freedom. One is a viveka done at dharma and adharma level. What is right, what is wrong. So there, he was told that what appears to be adharma is really dharma. So the confusion so that is the viveka. In other words, you start thinking that I'm killing my teacher who taught me everything. This is adharma. Krishna says no. We have given every possible chance for them. You have to look at the larger society. Don't let your attachments get into the way. And it's not as though the actions are not that you're doing something strange. It is necessary for society for you to fight the war. So give up this aviveka of dharma and adharma. So this is one thing. But the viveka of dharma and adharma is also temporary. It's not the ultimate. It gives you some room to operate for the time being. The ultimate is the viveka between Atma and Anatma. This is what you have to do. So, this is exactly the same topic in our Vedas. So, Vedas also have Karma Kanda and Jnana Kanda. The Karma section deals with Dharma Adharma. Apraptasya prapti, one which is not part of me. Jnana Kanda deals with Praptasya prapti and the viveka between Ajnanam and Jnanam, Atma and Anatma, Atma and Anatma. That's the topic. So that and in the Gita is simply a reflection of the Vedas. It's nothing new. This is called Smriti. And so even though the Vedas are independent of time, but the Gita is not independent of time. There could be a new situation. In fact, even today, it's very possible that in some part of our galaxy, something like the Gita is being taught which is not called the Gita. That's very possible. Very possible. In fact, it is very likely that several teachings are going on at the same time. So the Gita is nothing but a translation or a redone of the Vedas itself. It is not an independent thing. So the Gita also says that really there are two situations. One is requiring a preparation, which is karma kanda, which is karma yoga, and the other one is jnana. These are the two situations. So here we now go back to the main topic again. So one thing to be talked about it here, as we mentioned it before also, that the first chapter was to bring about a adhikari. Means who is the one who should really be studying the Gita. And there the character of Arjuna was the situation of the war, the character of Arjuna, the contextual background of this was given. This is the first chapter. And very briefly what it means is that first thing you should do is to give up adharma, or be very clear about what is dharma and adharma. Then you are ready to learn. And it was also told that please do not teach to a person who is not ready. You cannot just take an 11-year-old person and say, I'm going to teach you quantum mechanics. You should be able to learn it. You're smart. Not really. Not really. They're not ready yet. And so you have to make sure that the person is ready. Here, Arjuna declares himself to be ready in the 7th verse of the 2nd chapter, where it says, Shishyasteham pradhimam shadhimam tvam prapanna. He says, I am ready for being taught because I am confused. What is Shreyas? What is Preyas? I don't know. And I want to learn what is the truth from you. I am ready to do so. So please tell me a way to get complete freedom. Okay? All right. So now in the 2nd chapter, the fundamentals of knowledge.
Silence the damn phone.
The fundamentals of this person's life were presented to him both in the karma yoga and jnana yoga. In terms of both possibilities, the relationship between them, all of that was presented in the 2nd chapter. Then in the 3rd chapter, primarily devoted to karma yoga, as we saw. In the 4th and the 5th chapter, the emphasis is going to go back to jnana yoga. Jnana yoga. So this is the context. Okay, so another thing, previously in the 2nd chapter, the primary method of jnana yoga was centered on the self. This is why, you hear these English translation called self-realization. Self-realization, which Swami Dayananda used to just avoid. He says, because of the baggage of it, somehow something very strange, self-realization. But that's okay. It just means you understand the very You analyze who I am, what my life is, and step by step go into the very fundamental of what is happening. Who are you? What's your life is all about? Doing the viveka between Atma and Anatma, all of that is called self-realization. Here in the 4th chapter, beginning with the 9th verse, the context of Jnana Yoga has been changed to God realization, not self-realization, but God realization. And it would appear on the surface that the very teaching of this, starting with the 9th verse, see, for example, just look at, I'll close the loop, but if you look at the translation of the 9th verse, Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam Evam Yo Veti Tattvataha. So the topic and the subject is me, the Ishvara. Is Ishvara talking? Is Krishna as Ishvara talking? He says, how am I born? And how I operate. In other words, both the Srishti and the Sthiti, the very starting of the Kalpa, and how it is maintained. The one who knows this through truth. So this Divyam here means something extraordinary, not visible as a person. So the word used is divine. So the word divine is used as a pretty good one. In fact, divine and divyam, they are almost close to each other. I don't know who copied who, where Sanskrit copied English or English copied Sanskrit. But this is called divyam, means divine. So divine means, actually the word divyam comes from div, which means full of light. Full of light. Effulgence is called deva, for example. Divyam means deva, full of light. And full of joy. And something which is not is something subtle, you cannot visible. That is the nature of the Atma that we are studying. But here the word Divyam refers to Ishvara. So Ishvara says that, so look at this in number 9, Janma Karma Cha Me Divyam Evam Yo Veti Tattvataha. The one who knows my nature. Whose nature? Ishvara's nature. So this is the Ishvara Bhakti.
As we get into the class, I think we should switch off the phone.
Yeah, that might be a good idea. So here, the Ishvara is the main subject. See, verse number 9 says, Janma karma cha me divyam yo veti tattvataha. The one who knows me as I am, how I operate, how I take the various births, what I do to maintain the order of the universe, is all connected to is not my personal individual thing, it is all Ishvara's. He says, one who understands this very well, then what will happen? Tyaktva deham punarjanma na eti mameti saha Arjuna. He says the one who knows the way I operate will be freed from samsara. So here, all I was saying, we'll go back to the main narrative. All we're saying is that the second chapter was about self-realization. Now the teaching is about God realization. So the question now occurs, is the self-realization a separate topic from God realization? Do they lead to separate goals? Which one? And as soon as you say maybe, then you say which one is better? Should I focus on myself or should I focus on Ishvara? So the answer to that is that really speaking, there are two ways of looking at the truth. It doesn't matter. Whatever appeals to you. Generally speaking, people will prefer the Ishvara Bhakti more. Anyway, we'll go into all of that, but just to give you one answer to this, it is almost like saying that suppose you have the waves of an ocean. Is it better to analyze an individual wave, or is it better to analyze the whole ocean? And the answer is it doesn't matter. Both ways of analyzing lead to an understanding that the content of both is water. So it doesn't really matter. But if your preference is to really focus in on the ocean, how does it operate? How big is it? How does it regulate the various waves in it? How does it decide how a wave should come in? Fine, you shouldn't do that. Or if your preference is, I don't know whether there is any Ishvara or not, I just want to look at myself because I want to start with my own experiences that I'm familiar with, fine, you can do that. Either way, the two ways will meet together. But just to point out here that the main topic that we have started with has a slightly different way of looking at it, which is God realization. So here's in the explanation of this, the one who knows me knows in reality my divine birth and action in this way, Arjuna, giving up the body, that person is not born again, he attains me. Okay, let's go to verse number 10. Vitaraga bhaya krodhaha manmaya mam upashritaha bahavo jnana tapasa puta mat bhavam agataha. So now we go into the different stages of God realization. So the topic is analysis of the Ishvara, similar to the analysis of the self, but at least from the standpoint of Ishvara. It is the samashti upadhi which is main topic here, not the vyashti upadhi, not the individual upadhi. So he says, now there are several stages by which you understand the working of Ishvara. Okay? One of them is to focus on the Ishvara as a single individual. So this is why we Hindus are criticized by a lot of other people who says that you are idol worshippers, not IDLE, but IDOL worshippers. It's not like you are useless worshippers, but you worship some stone. One of our very good friends is Muslims. From the very beginning, we've been together for the last 50 years. And when I went to the PRC ashram for study with Swami Dayanandji, we had given our house for rental for 2 years. We couldn't afford to keep it there, so we gave it out for rental. And then whenever we would come here for some visit, we would stay with our friends who are Muslim friends. Very, very good friends of ours and wonderful people. So one day the wife of this couple, who is more religious, the husband doesn't care much about Islam and so on and so forth, but the wife is very religious. So, and she also has a lot of love and affection and respect for me of what I do and so on and so forth. And so she cornered me one day and said, I know you're doing a lot of studying and so on, but I don't understand, why do you worship an idol? I still remember this, 1980, 79, 80. Why do you worship idols? Isn't God formless? So this is a very big thing for Muslims, for Muslim people. They think that this is pagan religion. In fact, that's why they on the history, we are so careless in forgetting our history. You cannot believe how many temples they were destroyed. Because the very temple is a symbol of idol worshipping, non-understanding. In fact, just recently, for those of you that met Swami Paramatmananda earlier this year, same issue happened with Israel. When the Judaism people, they had a wrong impression of what Hinduism is. And Swami Dayanandji, and with a continuing dialogue, had to explain to them, this is not correct. We are not idol worshippers. Then what? If you're not idol worshippers, then who are you? So there we say that there are stages of worshipping Ishvara. And it is very much like telling an 11-year-old who's not ready for quantum physics to say, you're stupid. You cannot just be doing some simple math and so on and so forth. Study E is equal to mc squared. The person says, I don't understand what you're talking about. So just to suddenly say that God is formless and so on and so forth, nothing happens. What are you going to do? So first you have to become good in math, calculus, physics, chemistry. Then when you are fully equipped, you can see that really speaking, matter and energy are two forms of the same thing. Because then you know what matter is, you know what energy is, you know what the equation is, you are able to, even then it is difficult, but at least you are able to understand it. So going back to Ishvara, the worship of the Ishvara, the God realization, our first stage is to take Ishvara as a single person. And when you do that, then, and whatever that person attracts you, whenever you were born, you had one attraction to either Rama or Hanuman. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Whichever person that you are attracted to, make that into an object of your worship. And another way then, not another way, but a offshoot of that is you see that one person in all of your life. Whatever you do, it's a worship of that person. Whether it is Rama or Krishna or whoever. Let's say Rama. Then you just follow the worship of Rama. You see Rama in everything. Your whole karma, your life becomes a worship towards Rama. And the more you see this, the more real Rama becomes to you. I mean, that's been my transformation too. I don't take Rama as my idol, although his character is closer to who I am rather than Krishna. Because Rama is an upholder of dharma. Krishna is a symbol of doesn't matter what happens in their life. He is oblivious of it. His childhood was so bad. This is the avatara. His childhood was so bad. He was snatched from people to people. People tried to kill him. And he had lots of failures in his life. Ultimately, they say that his biggest failure was he thought he could persuade the Kauravas for not fighting the war, Duryodhana. He says, I think I'm pretty confident. I'm a very good negotiator. I'll tell them that this is not going to work. He failed. Krishna himself says that I have limitations as a avatara. Don't think that I'm perfect. I had lots of problems. But he says, you know what? I don't care. Whatever happens, happens. I am happy. So this was the character of Krishna. Rama's character is not fun-loving, but as an upholder of dharma. And is a little closer to be my ideal, Rama. But really speaking, when I started to think about it, it was when Swamiji introduced Dakshinamurti. And the Dakshinamurti is Shiva in the form of a teacher. That's how I grew up in my spiritual life. I have some personal likes and dislikes. Now it doesn't matter to me. But to me, Dakshinamurti is the one that has been taught to me to be my guru. And that is Shiva as a teacher. And so I see all my life is being dedicated to Dakshinamurti. And so what the first stage of the Ishvara recognition is, you take one person and you hang on to that person. And it may be somewhat forced in the beginning. And in my life, I tell you, I find that now I can see the presence of Dakshinamurti in all my life. I can see the touches of it. I can see the smiles. And then my own smiles, I become a little bit more let going of things. That's okay. And so the one stage is where you take one form of Ishvara and you look at everything with respect to that one form. Dedicate everything to that one form. Let your whole life to be nothing but a worship of that one form. So this is what is called Ekarupa Ishvara. Ekarupa Ishvara. Now, there are two fundamental aspects of looking at Ishvara Bhakti. One would be called Saguna. Saguna Upasana. And Upasana is always Saguna Upasana. And the other one is Nirguna Upasana. So one is with form and the other one is without form. With form has two subsections to it. One is Ekarupa. The next stage is Anekarupa. Anekarupa. Anekarupa is a higher form of bhakti. Anekarupa means multiple forms. What that means is, yes, don't give up your Ishta Devata. But the more important thing is, whoever you meet should appear to you to be a Devata. More difficult. Especially in that stage of the life when you are a grihastha, you are younger, you're meeting with lots of people that are giving you problems. So it's not easy. So we're looking at a transition over life. If you're lucky enough to go through this, then you begin to look upon other people as either you neutralize them or you look upon as friends. So this topic will come in the Chaturvarnyam Mayat Shishtam, verse number 13, which maybe in a couple of classes we'll go into this, which is the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. All of that will come in much more detail. And also, that is the Varna, and also the ashrama system. So this is what is called an infrastructure for one's life. In the ashrama system, where you have brahmacharya, which is the student's stage of life, then you have grihastha, which is a householder's life, active life. The third one is vanaprastha, where you begin to disengage from people. And the fourth one is sannyasa, where your disengagement is almost complete. But what I wanted to focus in on this one in terms of the aneka rupa or bahurupa of Ishvara, it is more likely that will become more real to you in vanaprastha. How? So, one time when in the discussions with Swami Dayanandji, this became clear to me. The vanaprastha, which is also another form of aneka rupa bhakti, bahurupa bhakti, the multiple forms of Ishvara, is the following. In your grihastha life, you can distinguish between your family and your friends as two separate entities. The dealing with your friends is somewhat different for dealing with your family. How? This is in the grihastha stage. In dealing with your family, you have a certain sense of right, expectations, disappointments, attachments. And that also is true for friends, but not nearly to the same degree as with your own family. In the vanaprastha stage, you will be very successful if you have transitioned from looking at your family as friends, not as family. Like, for example, it's very interesting if you were to observe how you behave with your friends versus how you behave with your spouse. Your friends you are much more tolerant with. You are much nicer to them. Because it doesn't matter that much. If they don't exist, they don't exist. It'd be better to have lots of friends that are all very friendly to you, but it's not heaven and earth. It's okay. And your whole attitude is softer with your friends. With your spouse, that is not the case. You simply observe your life and in your own family, and your children also. Spouse is just one thing. You become more hardened. Why? Because your thinking is much more with respect to expectations, duties. Duties are not there, it's rights. I expect my children to behave in a certain way. And this is through some identification. Hemi Swami Maheshananji gave a very beautiful example. He said that, he was a Swami who gave Diksha to a number of other people. A lot of other his students were all, just like in Swami Dayanandaji's case, or Swami Viditatmananda also, he has given Diksha to a number of other people. And so when you do that, then they become, they stay as your friend and your student for a long time, and they confide in you. And Swami Maheshananji was saying that it is very funny that some of the Swamis come to me privately and complain that people are not giving them as much respect as they should to a Swami. Like, for example, they say that when in India, it doesn't happen here, you see a Swami, you should say, Om Namo Narayana. Om Namo Narayana. Om Namo Narayana. And so this one Swamiji came to and he says, I find many of my students don't do that to me. The Swamiji said, I just thought, oh my God. If you just become, and this is what happens all of a sudden. I've seen this in so many cases where people wear these ochre clothes and they suddenly become Swami. They were just a simple name before and now they've become a Swami. And what happens then is, because of their identification with Swamihood, nothing has changed, by the way. Their knowledge is still the same. Their way of explaining things is still the same. Their depth of understanding is still the same. But all they have done is now they have become a Swami. So because of that, their expectations rise. And they feel now everybody should just say Om Namo Narayana. If somebody says, Hi Swamiji, it's very interesting. Even in my case, I find that in outside the teaching and so on and so forth, people can just say, Hi Vijay, and I have friends and so on and so forth, Hi Dad, or something. Here in the class, while you're teaching, people have become more deferential. So when they write to me or something, they'll say either Guruji or Vijayji. Generally, we'll say, Hello Vijayji. So they add the word Ji and so on. Once in a while, I find students will say, Hi Vijay. And they write letters also to me, emails also, Hi Vijay. So what that means to me is, I have not yet come across as a person that they are willing to call me Vijayji. In their minds, I'm still a simple Vijay. This is okay. and doesn't cause me any problems whatsoever. That's okay. So here, what I'm saying is that in the case of distinguishing between friends and family, you have a certain set of expectations. You don't want your children to say, "Hi, come here." They'll say, "Hi, Dad." So you have a set of expectations. In the Vanaprastha, in fact, this is the thing, it's a very simple test to see whether your stage of development in the Vanaprastha, excuse me, in the third stage of your life has been successful or not. And that is, you treat your family members in the same way that you treat your friends. It is a litmus test. Just observe how you approach them. You get up in the morning, do you say good morning? You will probably do that to your friends. You may not do that to your spouse. "Oh, he's still there. It's okay. I don't have to say that." So, in some ways, the Vanaprastha, see, in the case of in the Grihastha stage, I'm actually borrowing some of the stuff I was going to talk about later. But since we are on the topic, I'll just say that. In the Grihastha stage, it may not be possible because you are very much actively involved in your life. You have relationships that you have to maintain, and all of that is there. It's no big problem. There, your responsibilities are slightly different. But in the stages of your life, if you have become 70 years of age, and you still have the same attachments to your family as you were when you were 35, we've got a problem on our hands. It is exactly like if you were 4 years old and you were happy in playing with balloons. Now you have your 40th birthday and no balloons were given to you and you get upset. Is my 40th birthday has no balloons? Or what are my balloons? Here's a problem. Problem in the thinking. Every stage has some requirements for it. So going back to the Aneka Rupa is the second stage. Aneka Rupa means that you begin to see the equal status to all the people. You overlook their peculiar problems and you begin to see people as human beings and having the same Atma as you. You still you haven't really completely arrived at the Jnanam. This is the second stage. Then the third stage is you transition from Saguna Upasana to Nirguna Upasana. So going back to the story of idol worship and how the Muslims look at upon and so on, they don't have an understanding that these are well-planned stages of one's understanding. That we are not worshipping idols. We are worshipping the idea of Ishvara as Ekarupa. No different in saluting a flag. There is a cloth that is fluttering around. You're not saluting that. You're saluting the country which is symbolized by the flag. And it's a good habit that once in a while you get reminded of your, although it's difficult to do in the current administration, but you're reminded about the country, about your allegiance to it, the laws that protect you, and all of that. And it is good to salute the flag. So this is what is called Ekarupa and then Anekarupa. So in that sense, here, these stages of the worship are summarized in verse number 10. Vitaraga bhayakrodhaha manmaya mam upashritaha bahavo jnana tapasa puta madbhavamagataha. What it means is that please relax in the presence of the order of the universe. Let things flow. We were just talking about that in the previous class. So let things flow. Recognize my presence in the way the whole world is being managed. You are not alone. You are, see, this is the thing that I think one beautiful thing that we should see. So we all want company. And not company as much as we want support. You know, people will have a very hard time living if they didn't have people who support them when needed for problems. Friends, family, government, doctors, lawyers, all these are supporting mechanisms and so on. But the one thing I do not understand is the support from the most important person in my life, which is Ishvara. I don't recognize it. I can understand my mother more than anyone else. We are very devoted to our mothers. I can understand other people in my lives and so on. But we do not understand the support and the presence of Ishvara in my life. So there, who is responsible for your blood flow? All your mother did was to give you birth, and then you are on your own. Maybe she gave you some milk for a while. That's it. After that, she is separate. Who is the person who is responsible for the blood flow in your body? Who is the person who is responsible for separating things that should be thrown out of the body and things that should be kept to nurture the body? Who is the person who is responsible for your breathing without your helping anything? Your heart beating, your brain functioning, your memory. There's no one who's doing it. It's foolishness on our part not to see the support of Ishvara. And who is the person who is me, the consciousness, which does not change, which is birthless, deathless, independent of time? I'm foolish if I don't recognize that. So really the essence of all these verses, this is what God realization means really in real terms. It's not some kind of a God realization, it's just a simple recognition that my God, I am surrounded and supported in the presence of Ishvara all my life. Cannot believe it. Here, you know that there's a famous saying that if there is if two people should suddenly appear before you, one is God and the other one is Guru, they say, please be wise and give your first namaskara to the Guru, not to God. You know why? Because if it weren't for the Guru, you would not recognize that this other person is really the God. Really speaking, the one who introduces the presence of Ishvara, which I don't see, is more important. I miss it completely. I'm critical of it. You know, I don't have any friends, nobody's supporting me, and I'm alone. And then you get into all kinds of acquisitions and karma, and my lot is like this. And if it gets bad enough, you commit suicide. And Ishvara must be sitting there saying, "Oh my God." Yeah, he's the God himself, and he'll say, "Oh my God. What a foolish person. I can't believe it. Didn't recognize me. Didn't recognize that I am the one that gave the mother and the father. I am the one that created the entire life. I am the one that is having the blood flow. I am the one that created the heat and the summer and everything, the whole structure. And it is better that you do it, because that is the best friendship that you ever have. So that's exactly what this is. Vitaraga bhayakrodhaha. He says, forget about these getting upset about small things here and there and being fearful for this. Cravings and fears and anger and so on. Just see my presence. Then you will see these other things are not that important. Then be disciplined, be purified by the discipline of knowledge, because this is not, it is not forced. Bhakti can be forced. A sense of being a devotee can be forced. There's so many examples of people who are going to temples and doing this, and they have a personal tragedy and they just get completely turned off. What kind of a God is it? Swami Maheswaranji himself said one time, he says, I had a devotee he was always going to the temple. Not a Vedanta devotee, but he would come in and listen to some classes, but he was a great devotee. And here is one son only who died suddenly in an accident. He says the next day he asked all of his people to throw away all of the murtis in the home on the main ground and stomp on it. And people say, what's he doing? So he says, I've been praying all, and you did this to me? What it means is that you have unreasonable expectations. You have some karma which is even stronger, which is in the background, that just fructified at that time. But anyway, the purification of the discipline of knowledge it is not a requirement for bhakti or anything. You are what you are. You begin to become aware of my presence, which is nothing but yourself alone. And you become aware of my own nature. And so that's what it is. And so we'll continue with this, but I want to just leave some time for questions. But in summary, we are back on the main topic, but the main topic is being approached from Ishvara standpoint, not from the self standpoint, but will reach to the same thing altogether. Okay? So with that, I'll close today's class and invite you for some questions. Om Asato Ma Satkamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Harihi Om. Yes, Viren?
What we said about Anek Bhakti and Bahu Bhakti, Bahurup Bhakti and Ekrup Bhakti and different types, these things are bhavas that we have. But they also say that he comes in form also when it becomes very intense and you can see him also. I was wanting to ask you about that.
It's a possibility. I don't know much about that, and we have never really focused in on that. That's a possibility. I don't deny that. That's very possible. But nothing that I've ever experienced or nothing that I want to experience, there's no need for me to experience it. A better thing is to see the whole world as nothing but the manifestation of Ishvara. If he comes as if one is desiring of seeing Ishvara in a given form, that just means that that's what you need to be convinced.
Yes.
I don't need to be convinced of that. To me, that is superfluous. The whole thing is nothing but a big magic. And I need to understand the whole magic, not just he will come in a particular form. And if he comes in a particular form, then what will happen after that? He will disappear. He'll disappear. Your life will it completely change? I doubt it. Maybe it will remain you'll be saying, oh, wow, that was wonderful. Okay, then you will tell everybody and you feel very good about it. Really? You saw God? Yes, I saw God. And it's possible you may have seen it. How is that going to change your life? So in that sense,
Ultimate experience.
yeah, so it's an experience. That just means that you're not convinced about the presence of Ishvara. We need to study more, that's all. And not you personally, but a person who wants to have a darshan of Ishvara is not a good student, in my view.
In this Gita itself, in the Vishwarup Darshan Yoga, he sees all that.
Quite right.
And he gets convinced and he is very much influenced. And then he says, I'm so afraid, please come to me in this form. And then he comes into the Chaturvijay form also.
So what it means is that if he comes in that form, it'll create more fear in him. And yeah, so it was childish on his part to say, I want to see you in this form and so on and so forth. And Krishna says, no, you don't want to see me in that form. And so Divya Chakshu we gave him for a while, that scared the heck out of him. And then he said, no, I want to come back to it. So this just means it's unnecessary. Yeah, something like that. Yes?
Related to this, there's a saying that says that if you cannot see God in the next person you meet, you need not look any further.
Yeah, it's true. But that's also, it's a process. One should not feel bad that I don't see God in the next person. Because it takes a while. Because when I don't see God in the next person, there is a reason for it. I have not yet been given enough reasons why I should see God in the next person. But, and so it's a process of me educating my mind to a point where I don't have to force it. It becomes natural for me. And that's what we're talking about here in this ashrama and so on and so forth, is to... but yeah, you're right. That's the ultimate, is that I should just see the whole creation as nothing. Just like the waves of an ocean, seeing all the other waves as nothing but essentially himself or herself. Yeah. Yep. Great. No more questions. All right. We will see you next week.